Minnesota! What is up with that state? I thought it was the nice people's state. You know, if you want to get treated rudely by some jerk, you go to New York City. If you want to meet a laid-back stoner, man, you know, the surf's up, dude, you go to California. If you want sweet, genteelly boring, white vanilla ice cream, you go to Minnesota. Or my native Wisconsin next door. I mean, these are where the nice people live, right? But then we have this freshly minted congressman from Minneapolis peddling Jewish conspiracy theories yesterday, and then having to apologize for it. And then, Al Franken, the senator, remember him? You know, having to quit because he never learned in kindergarten that you do not grope ladies' backsides during photo shoots at the state fair. And now we have Amy Klobuchar, who turns out to be Miss Minnesota Nice herself, turns out to be the serial assaulter, abuser of her staff. She had been running the highest staff turnover in the Senate when she was there. What is up with it? Is there something in the water, or is it Donald J. Trump again? Yes, that man certainly has a talent for bringing out the scum within each of us. Like that rally up in Duluth. Now, Duluth is my old stomping grounds. I used to tool around that city in my dad's 68 Charger, trolling for babes, you know, cruising for babes. Oh, and then there's a Trump rally not too long ago up there where he's making fun of the border kids and how scared they are, crying for their mothers as they're thrown in cages. I cried when I learned about that. What did his rally crowd do? They laughed. They thought it was funny. It was like, what the hell happened in Minnesota? Although, I don't know. In fairness, maybe they're just realizing that MAGA hat, that red hat, isn't quite as great as it seemed. After all, this is farming country, and look what those tariffs are doing to it. You know, we have the steel tariffs, the aluminum tariffs, you know, because Trump doesn't, he's too busy sitting around in the Oval Office contemplating the size of his brand. Where's that card? Oh, there it is. Check it out. It's kind of fun. Wait, where was I? Oh, yes. Contemplating the size of his brand, stuffing cheeseburgers in his mouth. He's too busy, or trying to figure out how to stay out of jail. He's too busy to study basic economics, like, you know, principles that a fifth grader can explain, like supply and demand. No, Donnie, when we run a trade imbalance with some place like China, it's not because that Xi Jinping is sitting there in his version of the Kremlin and plotting our demise. It's because the Chinese don't like our stuff all that much, but we love their cheap plastic, their cheap towels, cheap dishcloths, their cheap electronics, their cheap well, there aren't any cheap iPhones, but you know what I mean, right? We just can't get enough of them. We don't really sell what the Chinese want. Well, actually we do. Soybeans. And to really get the full effect of how Donald J. Trump is destroying the farmer economy, you have to take a step back to the golden yesteryear of the post-Civil War days when two brothers had an argument about sugar in Battle Creek, Michigan. One was a doctor, one was a businessman. Their doctor was taking out a mallet and hammering Iowa corn kernels flat and frying them up for his patients because he was trying to find some calming, soothing food for his patients in a sanitarium. And he was settled on cornflakes. And his brother came along and said, you know, if we put sugar in that, we can sell it to the world. That's the argument. Thus a cereal brand is born. And that's the miracle of how the Midwest, the American Midwest, goes on to feed the world until Donald J. Trump came along. In fact, there is one product, now that I think about it, that we do sell that Chinese can't get enough of. Soybeans, because soybeans is tofu, right? Tofu comes from soybean curds, right? Like soy milk, yes. And they don't really grow that many, but we do. We grow soybeans galore in Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and we've spent decades, particularly after World War II, growing these soybeans and developing customers in China who can't get enough of it. They just suck it down until Donald J. Trump comes along and slaps them with those silly tariffs, right? Well, they stopped buying our soybeans, and they started buying Brazilian soybeans. See the map? See that unhappy face in Iowa? That's what Donald J. Trump has done. We had these glorious farms that are now starting to die. And they started complaining, as they should. And so what did he say? Oh, buy him off. Let's cut him a welfare check. Welfare check? We don't do welfare in the Midwest. Oh, well, we'll give you another kind of check. It's the Commodities Corporation's check, you know, from like the New Deal era, right? And so everything was fine for a while, but here's the problem. The tax cut came along. Now the till's empty. There's no more money going to those farmers. So, and it gets even better. And what we're looking at now is a very real prospect of these farms that were once proud institutions becoming shams of what they were, having to be propped up with 2x4s, right? Yes, because they're hoping that maybe the tax refund will get them through this spring because of the slowdown in the economy. The high interest rates are going up. Money is more expensive to borrow than it used to be. Yes, let's just use our tax refund. Uh-oh, Paul Ryan's little fuzzy math, his little games playing with the tax cut is finally coming home to roost. And now our tax cuts are turning into large tax burdens. Yes, we're looking at the demise of the great farming institution in the United States. What do we do about this? Well, do you know that $500 bill you've got back in your dresser somewhere, you're saving for a rainy day? I want you to take it outside and burn it. Why not? Donald J. Trump is. Not into that? Okay. We need a protest. Let's do a tofu protest. That's cheap. Buy a cake of tofu and mail it to the White House. Drown that man in tofu. Maybe he'll wake up and actually pay attention instead.